am Shelly Carlson, and I am running for the Minnesota House of Representatives District 4A seat. One of the reasons that I decided to step into this race is that I have been the mayor now. This is my 6th year, and a lot of the projects that I started with are now coming to completion this year. And with the open house seat, I really felt it was a great opportunity for me to bring the experience that I've gained being the mayor, the relationships that I have developed at the local, state, and national level, and bring that voice of Moorhead down to St. Paul and continue to do great things for my community. My professional background has always been, almost 30 years now, has been in crime victim advocacy, specifically domestic violence, sexual assault, and now in an elder justice arena. Two of the things that I really learned professionally in my day job is how to listen and how to look for gaps in the system's responses and bring people together. So those skill sets transferred really well into being a city council member and being the mayor. And as mayor, I continued to listen. I continued to look at where the gaps were in services to members of the community and brought people together and developed those relationships to be able to achieve results for my community. So it's a combination of my personal professional experience and also the experience as a mayor. And I think marrying the two of those together provides a very well-rounded background to be able to go to St. Paul and advocate for the community that I love. If elected, the top 3 priorities are really building a safe, healthy, and thriving community. And there are a lot of things that go under those 3 words. So advocating for affordability, so housing, childcare, healthcare, those are things I've continually heard about, but not things that we can necessarily focus on very much at the local level, but definitely something we can focus on at the state level. When I talk about a healthy community, it is that healthcare, but it's also making sure that we have access to mental health. And a thriving community is one that people feel safe. So advocating for public safety funding and making sure our fire, police, ambulance services have the funding and the resources that they need, but also making sure that our business community is thriving, because affordability, back to that, if we have really good businesses that have good paying jobs, then people will be able to afford the housing and the childcare that they need. And I also want to talk about schools too, because that kind of is under healthy and thriving as well. Making sure that our schools are well-resourced and our institutions of higher ed are also well-resourced too. Over the next 5 years, I think Minnesota has a lot of opportunities as well as challenges. I think there are so many opportunities, particularly in greater Minnesota, because people love nature. And I think after COVID, we really developed or fell in love again with being outside and connecting with nature, connecting with community. And I was just at a League of Minnesota Cities conference, and they gave a presentation about how the population of the Twin Cities area is leaving and going to outstate Minnesota. So that is a huge opportunity for us when that population is seeking smaller communities, being able to connect and build community. But part of that is making sure that the community has the resources and the services that the people need when they're moving there. So I think about broadband. With broadband across the state of Minnesota, that means that people can work remote and be able to continue in a really good paying job that they might have had in Twin Cities, but now they can work anywhere. I also think about public safety services, making sure that they have access and can get emergency response if they need to. And it's those good paying jobs and the schools and all of those things. Now, the challenge is, how do you pay for those things? And part of that is making sure that we can attract businesses that can provide those really good paying jobs so that we have that tax base to pull some funding from. And then also open the door so that communities can put in some local option sales taxes to pay for some of the amenities, that third place that people want to be able to go to in their communities. You have where you where you lay your head down at night, your home, you have your place of work. Those are the first and the second place. And then that third place, the community. Where do you go for fun? And where do you go to connect with people? So, there's some challenges there, but I think that our opportunities are so vast that we're going to be able to overcome those challenges and really provide a state where people are going to want to move to from across the United States and the world. I do support incentives to retain, attract, and expand businesses. Particularly being on a border community, we have had to have those tools on our tool belt in order to do those things in the city of Moorhead. We have border city tax legislation that is intended to do those things, and I think that it's a huge benefit. Again, going back to making sure our communities are affordable, they have to be able to have jobs that pay them well so that they can continue to live, work, and play in the communities they live in. So there is a huge housing shortage, not just in Moorhead, but across the state of Minnesota. And one of the things that I saw that came from the state that really benefited the city of Moorhead it's called SAHA funds. The SAHA funding really enabled us as a community to decide how best to allocate those resources to incentivize and help develop homes that fit into the city of Moorhead. That is one of the really great things that I would hope that the state would continue to do. I would advocate that the state continues to do that and even provide more funding to communities so that they can make the decision on how best to utilize it in their own communities. Access to high quality childcare is very important, not just in the city of Moorhead, but across the state of Minnesota. And I've been involved in a lot of conversations, not just in the local level in our city of Moorhead, but when I was the president of the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, that was a common topic that got brought up that we see across the state. There are a lot of different ways that the state can provide some of those assistance and incentives, and it's really working with local communities because each community has tackled this a little bit differently. I think it's important to remember that childcare is a business, and so we have to make sure that the people who have these businesses are not overly regulated and make it so that they can't even continue to operate their business in a way that they can provide care to the kids that they really do love and care about. So we have to find a way to work with these businesses and provide incentives for them. And there's different examples all across the state, whether it's cities being able to provide some of that capital or the state providing some of the capital, working with private businesses. But it's also looking at the rules and regulations because we want to kind of look at what are the common sense things that should be in place, but what are the ones that could maybe be removed to make it not such a barrier for people to continue to operate and have such minimal margins for them. So definitely something that I would want to be working on. Moorhead is one of 5 statutorily defined border cities. People think of Duluth and Superior as a border city. It's not statutorily defined in Minnesota that way. Moorhead is because we have such close proximity to Fargo, and we have a lot of unique opportunities because you have such a huge population on the North Dakota side. And when we could put businesses in and attract people and attract that talent to come over to the Minnesota side, that could be a huge win for us. So figuring out what are the incentives, what are the ways that we could expand and modernize our border city tax legislation could be a huge win, not just for Moorhead, but for East Grand Forks, for Dilworth, for Breckenridge, and for Ortonville. Those are the only 5 cities, and we could do some great things. Being a border community, I think, has a lot of positives. So it's not a, Fargo loses and we win. We all win when regionally all of our communities are thriving. And for Moorhead, one of the ways that we could really thrive is by leaning into attracting more businesses. The flood diversion project is a $3.2 billion project, and I have been the chair of the Diversion Authority twice since I have been the mayor. And the first year we were able to get the federal funding that we needed to really start the project and also sign a loan that enabled us to borrow some funding as well. This last year, as the mayor of Moorhead, we were able to get the funding that we needed to finish the in-town Moorhead flood mitigation projects. There are still projects out in the county that need to be completed so that the flood diversion project can operate in an effective manner that satisfies all of the requirements for the Minnesota DNR and also the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That is really important for me to get this project across the finish line because of the fact I know how important this project is for the entire metropolitan region. So that is something that I would strongly be advocating for as a state legislator. So some people may not know that I'm actually not from Moorhead. I was born and raised in Minot, North Dakota, and I say that I migrated here because I came here in 1990 and I really haven't left. I came here for college, went to Moorhead State, got a paralegal degree, went back, got a master's in public administration, met my husband who is from Moorhead, and we raised our 2 children in Moorhead. So there are 3 spuds in my family. I'm the magician, but I feel that I am an honorary spud, and I am very thrilled that both of my adult children now, they are 27 and 24, they've both chosen Moorhead as their home. And my husband and I just really love this community. Public service is something that I've done for my entire career. I've worked in either nonprofit or governmental agencies the last 30 plus years. And my husband also started in public service as a law enforcement officer, transitioned out, and now we own a small business right in the city of Moorhead. So I just feel that having kids go through the Moorhead school systems, having gone, both my husband and I actually graduated from Moorhead State, having our higher ed institution of learning right here in the community I have chosen as my home, just gives me great pride. And I feel that also my last year as mayor, the projects that I started are coming to completion. You know, we started out with a ribbon cutting for the community center library, which is the Loop, and it's a place for all generations to go. I'm a huge fan of places that are multi-generational. And it's a place for people to start businesses. It's a place for kids to go and access health and wellness. Indoor playground any time of the year, a walking loop any time of the year. And then when you're there, you're gonna feel connected to the community because there's gonna be other things that are going on. What I love about it is it also is free and accessible for anybody. And then we had Matson Field, which is a huge renovation and an updated version of our baseball fields in North Moorhead, and we're going to be able to have statewide tournaments now because of the upgraded facilities. And then we just got done opening Rompkey Park, which was a $11 million project. And again, it's accessible for everybody. There is something there for every single generation. Later on this year in 2026, we're going to open the 11th Street Underpass, which is a huge project, and it's a public safety project, but it's also an economic development project. And then maybe something that's not as exciting to people, but definitely something exciting for me because we have 300 plus full-time staff that work in the city of Moorhead, and it is a renovated city hall. So the staff who work and every day are doing public service in their role, they're going to have a beautiful place to work and just have it open to the community. So a lot of projects that have happened in 2026 kind of bookending my time as mayor, and I just couldn't be more proud of everybody who contributed to making these things happen.